Deadly wildfires continue to rage across Los Angeles. 11 people have been killed and more than 150,000 residents have been ordered to evacuate. The sheriff of LA County says the suburbs look like they've been hit by an atomic bomb. More than 55 square miles have burned. Donald Trump is sentenced without penalty in the New York hush money case, but will still enter the White House as the first U.S. president to be a convicted felon. Venezuela's opposition slams the inauguration of President Nicolas Maduro, calling it a coup.
The Israeli military says it's struck a power station and 2 ports on the Red Sea controlled by the Houthis in Yemen. It said the attacks were in response to dozens of Houthi missile and drone attacks against Israel. The United States announced sweeping sanctions against Russia's energy sector just days before Joe Biden leaves the White House. The targets include 2 major oil companies, dozens of traders and smaller firms, and more than 180 ships. The Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said the measures would hit a key source of funding for Russia's war against Ukraine. And the UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves is in China. She'll be meeting the country's finance minister. Her visit to Beijing will explore trade and investment opportunities in a bid to achieve the government's goal of growing the UK economy. Conservative MPs said that Reeves had, quote, fled to China as borrowing costs hit a 16-year high, but the government has defended her trip.
Our headlines today. A nighttime curfew has come into force in parts of Los Angeles as the battle to get devastating wildfires under control continues.
This one, it moved so quickly. It was, on a distant ridge 1 minute, and then 10 minutes later, it was like right on top of us. It was crazy how fast it moved.
Prince Harry and Meghan have been meeting residents affected by the wildfires, as well as emergency workers.
Chancellor Rachel Reeves arrives in China on a mission to attract investment in the UK.
The search for 2 sisters who went missing from Aberdeen enters its 4th day.
Good morning. In the sport, there's plenty to ponder for Graham Potter on his return to football management as his new club, West Ham, are knocked out of the FA Cup by Aston Villa.
Good morning. It's a very cold start to the day. In fact, the coldest so far this winter. But it is turning milder from the west, and very gradually it's going to turn less cold as we go through into next week.
Saturday morning, let's have a look at the papers for you. Some of the front pages. Telegraph first, warning about the UK's gas supply. And Telegraph included with that. The paper says the British gas owner Centrica says gas reserves are concerningly only half full as it stands right now.
The Health Secretary tells The Guardian that the use of inflammatory language about grooming gangs risks vilifying whole communities and could, in his view, lead to atrocities such as the New Zealand mosque attacks in 2019. Those are comments from Wes Streeting. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, is to face crunch weeks, according to the Eye, saying that the cost of living crisis is increasing pressure on the Chancellor ahead of a mini-budget expected in March, whilst mortgage costs are expected to climb.
And a look at the Daily Mirror, leading with a story that you might have heard on breakfast yesterday. Former Premier League footballer Dean Windus has been diagnosed with dementia. He says he's worried, but the paper adds in his characteristic humour, saying he was delighted to find out he has a brain.
The French Coast Guard says a man has died trying to cross the channel in a small boat. They rescued 20 migrants from the leaky dinghy overnight and another 15 from the water. French media reported the man who died was from Syria. And Carrie Johnson, wife of the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, has revealed she spent the first week of 2025 in hospital with flu and pneumonia. She posted a photo on Instagram praising the NHS.